Pressure is mounting for the vice president to decide whether he will run for president. While Democratic voters still have interest in a Biden run, a new national poll released by Monmouth University shows Hillary Clinton remains the Democratic frontrunner. She is in first with 48%. Bernie Sanders comes in second with 21%. And the Veep, should he decide to run, is in third with 17%. Joining us from Washington is Paul Kane. He's a congressional reporter for the Washington Post. Hey, Paul.
Hey, how are you? Good to be here.
Thanks for being here. So does the Biden camp believe that they have a legitimate shot at capturing the nomination?
Yes, they do. There's sort of a two-track way of them getting the nomination. First off, they believe that if he does formally jump into the race, there will be some boomlet of interest in him because of he is still a theoretical candidate at the moment, and polling can't quite capture that. So they think there's a little bit more oomph there. They think they can take away some of Hillary Clinton's current supporters by just getting on the stage and finally getting in and sort of being head-to-head and outperforming her. And they also think that in the Bernie Sanders level of support, if you go inside there, there's sort of two chunks of Sanders voters. There are a core diehard liberal activists that have latched onto the Sanders message. They don't think they have any chance at those. But there's a sort of secondary set of Sanders supporters who came along in the summer and early fall as Hillary Clinton was struggling and just sort of drifted over to Sanders as the anti-Clinton. The Biden people think that if they get in the race and run a smart campaign, look, it's really uphill, it's really late, but they think they can steal away those voters, that secondary tranche of Sanders voters, and put together a coalition that, definitely puts them competitive into the primary season.
Paul, here's the thing, though, and I don't know that a lot of people are talking about this just yet, perhaps because he has not yet announced. The vice president has engendered a lot of goodwill recently, of late in the last couple of years, but I wonder if people remember the last couple of times he ran for the presidency. He didn't really, do as well as he had expected. There were a lot of issues that he had to deal with, a lot of controversies that he had to deal with. He just didn't seem to float everybody's idea or float everybody's boat when it came to his presidency run the last couple of times. Is that something that could maybe take away some of that goodwill that he's engendered and perhaps tarnish his legacy?
I think the legacy tarnishing aspect, if he makes this run, I think they will have made the decision that that there will not be a result as bad as 1987 when he had to bow out amid plagiarism allegations, and that that has all been vetted. That if he runs and loses this time, they think it will be just because he got beat. And I think the guy's been beaten down by tragedy at the start of his career, the end of his career, and I think if he runs, I think that they will have made the calculation of, what much worse can happen to you than losing your son, losing your wife and daughter. I think that's the calculus there.
And I guess one other thing, and could age play a role? I mean, he will be 74 years old. That's older than Ronald Reagan was. He was 73 when he ran for president. We've never had a president that old. Could that also complicate things? This is a fascinating election in that regard. And you look at the front runners right now for the Democratic side would be Hillary Clinton would be 69 on election day, same age as Ronald Reagan, the oldest president ever. Joe Biden would be 74, and Bernie Sanders, gosh, I think he'd be 76, approaching 77. On the Republican side, Trump's in his late 60s. Ben Carson is in his 60s. We had this generational shift in 2008 to Obama. And all of a sudden, we inexplicably, everybody seems old by comparison. Yeah, I mean, it could be an issue, but it's hard to see how it's really an issue in the Democratic primary if, everybody on stage is a grandparent, except for Martin O'Malley. It's a strange time. Yeah, you're right. I was looking. So, you're right. Ronald Reagan was 69 when he ran the first time, 73 when he ran the second time. Bob Dole was 73 when he challenged President Clinton in 1996, and John McCain was 72 back in 08.
Yeah, certainly, for Dole and McCain, age was a factor in the general election. They definitely got portrayed as sort of the candidate of yesterday. Bill Clinton was, his reelect in 1996 was building a bridge to the 21st century, basically saying he was the candidate of the future. And Obama was such an agent of change in 2008 that McCain's age was definitely a big problem for him. Biden's issue is that
In 2008, he tried to run a campaign that was sort of high-minded and thoughtful, and it helped get him the vice presidential nomination because he looked high-minded, elder statesman, and thoughtful in the debates. But he wasn't really throwing punches. He wasn't really landing blows on the other candidates. And nobody's really sure whether he wants to run, how he wants to run this time. Is he going to be that tougher candidate who is willing to take on Hillary Clinton? Not over emails necessarily, but, you know, foreign policy positions, you know, no-fly zones in Syria, which Biden disagrees with, trade promotion authority, the TPP deal. There's a lot to go back and forth on there. But, you know, Joe Biden, the last time he ran, wanted to be high-minded elder statesman. He can't do that this time if he thinks he's going to try and win the nomination.
Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out, I mean, he's not lefty enough for those people who are supporting Bernie Sanders. And, you know, when it comes to Secretary Clinton, a lot of people might say that they're cut from the same cloth. So where does he carve sort of that middle ground?
I don't think it's middle ground. I think it's an even tougher type of path. He has to go in and be a better version of her. He has to beat her on those substance issues and really just steal away votes from her. You know, she's nationally looking at 45% of the vote still after as much trouble as she's been under. To get to that nomination, he's going to have to steal away a chunk of her voters, and it means getting on stage. Look, Barack Obama did it, and I'm not saying Joe Biden is as good a politician as Barack Obama, but Obama, you know, got on stage and basically stole away voters that would have gone to her. That's Biden's only path. He has to get into this ring. It's, you know, time is time is of the essence right now. He has to get in the ring and do his job and just try to steal voters from her.
You're absolutely right. And everybody is on pins and needles waiting for this announcement, should it ever come. Paul Kane, The Washington Post. Thank you so much, Paul.
Anytime.